Hey everyone! So on we go through the Linklater trilogy, and this is the third and final installment now, titled Before Midnight. Again, this is set 9 years into the future. Now we see what Jesse and Celine's relationship has grown into, way past their first meeting in Vienna, way past their brief encounter in Paris. Now they've been together for so many years now, and they have 2 kids together, and this story centers around them just reflecting on the relationship, the past years they've had while being on a Greek island. Of course, you do need exotic locations for these movies to work, and this movie started out a little bit differently than I expected, a bit differently than the first 2 movies did. Because the focus wasn't so much on them. There were, surprise, other characters in this, people who they interacted with apart from themselves, which kind of threw me off guard at first because, I don't know, I just sort of expected the whole thing to be exactly the same, exactly just Jesse and Celine, but it made sense. It made sense for them to expand the cast a little bit, not too much. They're just in this like couples retreat, writer's retreat, because most of these people are Jesse's friends. So they all talk at a dinner table, and of course each of them have different views, what relationships should be like and how they shouldn't be. Some of them are younger, some of them are older, and that really puts their relationship into perspective, I think. Because I guess in the first 2 movies, and Before Sunrise and Before Sunset, these 2, they're still falling in love. So everything revolves around them, you know, when you're young and you're in love, everything's just the 2 of you against the world, basically. But in this movie, you are very much more and more grounded in reality. And you also get to see Jesse's conflict and relationship with his kid, because as we saw in Before Sunset, he was married with a kid, and that was basically the only thing stopping him from leaving that relationship. And we get to see the consequences of that too, how, you know, parenting can be difficult, the struggles of having your ex-wife and just, you know, they don't get along. Where should we live? Should we move back to Chicago to be closer with the kid and also, you know, get him away from his not so great mom? But that would also mean leaving Celine's life behind, because as we can see throughout the years, Celine has really developed a career for herself. She's doing something she really loves. She's a passionate working woman, and I like that theme of like independent motherhood and just being just a modern woman in that sense. But it never turned out to be a cliche, because since the first movie she has been talking about this. She says she doesn't want to be one of those women who are tied down and just serve their husbands, and this is like an ongoing thing. It's a very integral part of Celine's character, I think, because growing up in Paris, it really affects the way she perceives herself as a person and as a woman. And now that she's in this relationship and she has all these responsibilities, it does get difficult for her, and sometimes she does lash out onto Jesse. When those 2 get their dialogue marathon starting again, it is incredible to watch. It just picks up like right where we left off, and it fills you in on these little things without making it seem tedious or boring, because you're constantly getting new information, new insights into their relationship, past, present, and future, all at the same time. I did hear that Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy had a lot of input into how especially these final 2 movies were made. So I guess a lot of it was improv, a lot of it was just based around them. And it's really cool. It's cool to see what can come out of, you know, a project where the actors and actresses are so involved and they get to decide a lot of things, and you get to see what comes out of that. But yeah, it really ramps up towards the end. I think these movies always intensify towards the end. I think Before Sunset and Before Midnight especially, because in Before Sunrise, you know, Jesse gets on his plane, he gets on the train, and they sort of separate, and it's this bittersweet moment, and there's a lot of ambiguity. But that is a standard classic ending to a romance film, you know, 2 lovers who have to part ways, and who knows what will happen next. But in Before Sunset and Before Midnight, these 2 are really getting into their relationships. It's like really specific to these 2 characters. Like, there aren't a lot of tropes, patterns that they fall into from other romance plots. It is very much their own thing, and it just comes out of their organic interactions and dialogue. The fight scene also gives us a lot of insight onto just typical complaints that usually women and men have about each other when they're in a relationship. And I love it just because it's painful to watch, but it's also so real in a way. I think a lot of the stuff that Celine says that is heartbreaking to Jesse, the stuff that just pisses him off to no end, it's something that a lot of women think but don't necessarily say, and when they do say, not a lot of men have the patience, you know, like Jesse does, to put up with that. And he's not afraid to push back sometimes, which I think is totally appropriate in these situations. And it's nice that way. You do get a balanced sense of both their frustrations, both their misunderstandings, and it's so good. It's really great. And I can safely say now that this is probably one of my favorite trilogies ever, and probably the only one that isn't like a superhero slash action movie of some sort. And now we have something completely different, but I have so much love for it, and I really hope I can discover more movies like this actually. So if you have any recommendations on any films that are similar to this, you know, thematically, or just the way it's shot, like the style of it, or just the feel of it, something that makes you feel like blown away, let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to check them out. Tell me, what did you think of this movie? Particularly, how would you rank it in the trilogy? My favorite is still personally Before Sunset, which is the second one, but I'm not too sure if I like this one better than the first one. I might actually, just because the first one is cute, you know, it's sweet and it's romantic and it just sweeps you off your feet and takes you off to fairy tale land. But at the same time, I do like things that are more realistic. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys have a great week ahead, and take care. Bye!